Hey there, Toonami faithful, and welcome back aboard Toonami Absolution, where we talk about the shows that made us us and the shows that made you you. Once again, we are your hosts. My name is Alex.
I'm Sam.
And I'm John. Cowboy Bebop, Session 23 and Session 24, Brain Scratch and Hard Luck Woman. Both these November 18th, 2001 for their Adult Swim debut. Oh, we're getting near the end.
And it feels like it. I mean, honestly, uh the first episode that we're talking about this week is kind of throwaway for me. I'm not the biggest
Yeah.
fan of it. It's just kind of like there. But yeah, no, the farewell of Ed and Ein. For some reason, Ein even more so. Um, yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be as emotional as it was, but I probably should have because Ed's kind of the soul of the Bebop.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
that's
for
the
what's coming, it's kind of better for Ed to not be there, to be honest.
yeah, definitely better if I'd not be around
Yeah.
for the next little bit. Yeah, but Brain Scratch is a weird episode. I get what it's trying to do. It's setting up sort of the dreams and awake thing again that we've had, sort of with Spike in his eyes. We're sort of
What
hinting.
what was that cult in the 90s that had that website? And I cannot, because it's very
Heaven's Gate.
clearly, yeah, it's clearly
Yeah,
referencing Heaven's Gate.
it's Heaven's Gate 1-to-1. Heaven's Gate still maintains a website. Literally, one of them, famously, the story is one of them stayed behind from their group unaliving to maintain their web presence, and that person, I kind of always want to meet them because imagine being the person who gets that job. I've worked some crappy jobs, but you can't join us in the Ethel forever because we need you to maintain our DOS. Is probably a very weird meeting. But yeah, this is Heaven's Gate 1-to-1. Just don't Google Heaven's Gate. Their events are some weirdness in this episode. What I'll say is it's very odd how accurate they get the Heaven's Gate stuff, and like the stuff with all the mass suicide. We kind of don't cut around that even in the original Adult Swim. I'm surprised this made it through in November.
Yeah.
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 I always wonder if it's a case of the fact that we learn the guy isn't real at the end was how Adult Swim were able to justify it. Because we never technically get confirmed how many of those people are actually. The only people we confirm dead are the bounty hunters he killed in his TV room, in his Persona 4 room.
I mean,
So maybe that's how they got around it for this.
yeah, it is, it is, I'm a white woman in America. I like my share of cult stories. And there is something so weird and like it is a throwaway episode. I will absolutely give you that, Sam. But there's something very weird and kind, almost like it feels kind of like watching oh God, what is that movie with Jared Leto and he's addicted to heroin?
Requiem for a Dream.
It's kind of Requiem for a Dreamy in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean the dreams and awake theme is definitely a big thing there
Yeah.
as well.
Also, like I think part of it for me is I think this is an episode that doesn't quite know what it wants to be. You've got the goofy stuff with Ed and Jet teaming up to infiltrate the cult, but then you've got the more heady stuff with Spike when he talks to the cult leader. Um, yeah, it's just kind of like this one's kind of all over the place for me.
Yeah, there's like a few bits that are sort of weird jokes that don't kind of land. Like I love Jet in the toy store. That feels like that should have been like a longer scene because they kind of see that this is going to actually slow us down because I've got to get one of these things. But then he gets it in the next scene. There's an like I was kind of expecting again, even though I've seen this episode, I was kind of expecting like guy will steal the last one and we're gonna have Jet chase him down. And it's gonna be like, I need to get in this thing before Spike gets knocked out. But no, Jet just gets it, burns one of his fake IDs.
As one does.
I do like Ed in her fluffy little dress though. Like Ed in her little dress. Oh, Papa is just I enjoy that little bit. And Jet talking to the security guard and being like, "Well, it's a long and tragic story."
Yeah.
That is my second favorite bit of that episode, actually. I think that's one of the, when you consider Jet's character, that's one of the sadder moments because you kind of get the impression he is riffing off something he saw.
Yeah.
Because, based on his past, like, he probably was on the other side of this conversation once, and that's thing. My favorite bit is the first bit with Faye, when you do the reveal of her being cult leader. I think that's something that works really well here, and I think it does something really neat for Hard Luck Woman. We've set up Faye having these death flags, and then always never playing on them. So that makes Hard Luck Woman, when we sort of finally get her leave, hit harder, because like they've kind of conditioned you to expect Faye's always going to come back. Even Spike has that a little bit in the episodes. Like, she'll come back. She doesn't. This is the one time she doesn't. I think it plays on the audience's heartstrings in a very clever way, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
And again, I like how they make the TV, how grotty the opening TV montage is great for just how grotty and horrible they make the entire thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's very lo-fi. Yeah, I always kind of appreciate it, and it harkens back, of course, to the stuff we saw with Faye's background, really just a couple weeks.
Oh, keep going.
It really does kind of harken back to the stuff we saw a couple weeks ago with the videotape with Faye, as we're kind of going analog in a digital sci-fi world. So I appreciate those things.
Yeah, yeah, but it definitely is. I think the ending is a little bit weak. I think I kind of wanted sort of more of, because I like the symbolism of Jet not handcuffing the other side. It's a nice moment for Jet to be like, yeah, this kid's, what do we do with him? But then it's like, well, there are all these other people you probably should be doing something about.
Yeah.
It's also very abrupt, right? It isn't just that they don't do enough with it. It's just kind of was like, and we're done. We're done now.
I kind of feel like, and maybe I'm wrong about this, I feel like this was one of those episodes that should have been a two-parter in some way. Like, this story needed more fat on it to really get the idea across, because I like the concept behind it a lot. I really enjoy this idea of this consciousness taking on its own weird little sense of revenge, or like the dreams turning dark. I like that as a horror movie concept, honestly. But I think that because it's confined to its time limit, it doesn't get the opportunity to really build on those ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that sort of leads to the sort of the TV monologue feeling a little bit unearned. I because I get what they're doing there, and it's a fair point, but it does feel, I think it's damned by Bebop being so good, because like Bebop has always been very clever with its messages, and that one just feels like, okay, yeah, we get it, TV bad. Thanks, lads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After something like sort of Cowboy Funk, where we are like, we're not going to tell you directly, but we're going to show you Spike from another perspective. To just have the guy literally face the camera and explain to you, it's like,
Yeah.
It's interesting too, because I like that kind of TV imagery, and that combining it with that cult imagery from Heaven's Gate is, I don't know why, but it also really made me think of something very Orwellian, especially when they're showing like the new VR headset and the ad that's going in with that, and how you can unplug there is something Orwellian and very like thought controlly about what's happening here, and the transhumanism of the conversation. And again, I wish that this episode had more room to like expound upon that.
Yeah.
yeah. I think especially because, yeah, I'm just thinking about this now. It's kind of also weird this wasn't Jet's episode. Because
No, yeah, I mean, it's almost like we've just come off a Jet episode. It's like it also gives Ed a fun one before Ed leaves, so to
Yeah.
speak, at least with Ed's so much as Ed's role within it.
it's just so much that like Jet is like so stuck in the past. I think there he would be a good person to have confronted the TV guy, because I think he would be the person who would agree with him to a point. Be like, yeah, no, this is modern life shit, man, but this is a stupid way to go about it.
Yeah.
Like I think he would constantly, because Spike, I think this is a thing where Spike's coolness plays a part. Spike doesn't really feel like he's ever going to be threatened by this guy or even really care. Spike is here because he wants the cash, and he will just shoot his way out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spike's an interesting choice as protagonist for this one.
I, yeah.
Especially for somebody, now that I think about it, though, now that he's always like, whatever happens, happens. He does kind of refer to the dream imagery or dream themes throughout his character arc in the series, which is coming to an end now that I think about it.
Honestly, I would actually be kind of interested in this from a Faye perspective, because she gets embroiled in the cult. Like, how did we get there? Like, obviously she's looking for a place to belong, and that's what cults prey upon, and having that from her perspective, I think would have been really interesting.
Yeah, and I think we could have played more. Again, with the two-parter idea, we could have played a lot more with Spike and Jet debating, is Faye playing them, or is she seriously a true believer in this case?
Yeah.
Because again, that's why I love that first shot, because there is that moment of you will question, like, okay, is this a scam or is this not a scam?
Yeah.
How in the world did she record a message while passing out?
You could have had a lot more to play with here if either I think if it's either sticking with the cult thing only. I think they had too many ideas in too small of a package, if that makes sense.
Though I am happy this episode did remember that Ed is not Ed, that Ein's a data dog.
I'm the
That
data dog.
that was because he's able to hack the system because he's full of data. He's a USB drive in the shape of a dog. So that was I think a cool thing to bring back for his what is again his going to be his final episode effectively as well.
Yeah. But and then we meet Ed's dad next episode.
Yeah.
Yes. So Hard Luck Woman. We
I
get
love this episode.
It's a great episode, and it's the clearest. If you had any doubts of like, hey, we're heading towards the end, it's it. This is where there's a sense of finality. We're getting that growing sense of finality, like, oh, the Bebop that we knew and love over the past 20 some episodes, it's it's gone. It's already starting to be picked apart. Um, yeah, this is where we're letting people know we're reaching our final destination, so to speak.
Hard Luck Woman is one of those episodes of this show that lives in my DNA. And like when we started this project of rewatching Cowboy Bebop, because it had been a while since I'd watched it, I was having that thought of like, okay, I know this episode is coming, and I couldn't remember exactly where it was. And now rewatching it, I remember why it sticks with me so much. Because like having this Ed and Faye episode is great. The music is so different from the rest of the series, and you get this little snapshot of what Ed's been doing when not part of the Bebop. Like Ed has a family. Ed does have a backstory. We just don't get to really be a part of that.
And I think one of the happier parts of it is that Ed's backstory is a relatively happy one. Um,
Well, Ed did get left at daycare.
True. I love that, without skipping a beat, Ed's father is able to kind of play with them just like, that weird, unique diving catch. Like, like that's something that, that's muscle memory for those two at this point.
Also, Ed's dad kicked the shit out of Spike. Just wrecked his shit.
And it's just so offhand how that happens too, right? It's just kind of like he doesn't even break a sweat.
I mean, the dude spends his time chasing meteors and craters. You've got to be slightly hardy to do that job.
Yeah.
But like Spike's doing all this like crazy kicks and stuff, and then all of a sudden you just have this gigantic man just grabbing him and chucking him around. Like if I were Spike, I'd be mad.
Ed's dad is very much like E Honda Core in that regard. Right down to the 100-hand slap.
Just keeps tapping B.
Yeah.
Keep hitting B.
Heavy attack. But the yeah, it's one of those things where Ed, I remember when I first saw the image, I was like, oh, that doesn't look like Ed at all. And then you see the eyes and you're like, oh, okay, it's okay. Parent of Ed. Yes. Check.
Father person.
Yeah.
The one weird thing in this episode is the modern American dub changes how they describe the place Ed was left. They say it's a daycare. In Japan, it's just an orphanage. And I find that a very odd. It's one of the things I want to find someone to ask about it, because of all the things in Bebop we've left in, why are we turning an orphan? Because it's run by a nun. It's very. I think anyone with any passing knowledge of pop culture will be able to go, that's an orphanage.
Yeah.
So I don't know why in the world unless the nun is being euphemistic, but it doesn't suit how she's portrayed. I don't know. It's one of those changes that bugs me in general, because I want to know why and what the decision was.
Yeah.
It's also interesting to me the kind of nun she is, because there are degrees to being a nun. She's like not just in the habit; she's in the full nun gear, and that implies a certain level of piousness that this woman doesn't seem to have. So part of me is wondering if this is just a random lady who put on a nun outfit and just started collecting kids.
Yeah.
To be fair, in the Bebop universe, it's probably a good idea to sort of have something to put people off robbing you.
Always. Everyone's got a gimmick in the Bebop universe.
I also like
Um,
the little girl with the fingernails. Can I have your fingernails?
yeah.
I just want one.
But it's this we get a parallel story because both Faye and Ed get to go back to their respective pasts. The difference is Ed's past still exists, whereas Faye's doesn't. Um, so she just kind of sits in the shadow of her home and, you know, imagines what once was.
Yeah. I want to talk about Faye's flashback sequence a little bit.
I love it.
I it's so again, I think I know I've harped on it a lot, but I think a lesser team would have rammed that so hard down your throat. They play it with this very naturalistic realism, which works so because Faye is so over the top normally. So to see her in this kind of very vulnerable, very confused, it's very well played, and they do a lot of little touches like how they slowly fade the frames. It really does have a sort of disassociative vibe going on. Like it doesn't just show you; it kind of lets you drop into her feelings for a brief moment.
Sure.
Uh, this will also be one of the only things that was sort of altered on Adult Swim, on the original broadcast. They do cut Faye's shower scene down a little bit and do a few holds to kind of.
Yeah.
It's a bit. I guess they're still being a bit nervy at the this time, so they're being very
Yeah,
careful.
yeah. Can't do the full pan to the anus. We get it. Yeah.
There, there,
I'll let
there,
that
there,
go.
there is something interesting of like just thinking back on it, like thematically. So much of Faye's memory is associated with water in this. Like there's the waterfall, the watering can, she's in the shower, they're looking at these fountains, and it's interesting because in Greek mythology, which has been referenced in Bebop before, the river Lethe is where the souls of Elysium drink from to forget the memories of the past. And in a lot of ways, this is bringing the memories back to her, and I think that that's really really interesting thematically.
Mm, yeah.
It's all
It's
also.
also
No, go
oh,
ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I think it's also fun that Faye's character has been so linked to the bathroom on the Bebop repeatedly, and I
Yeah.
think there's definitely a. I may be reading too much into this, but I love the symbolism. One of the first times we see her on the Bebop, she is chained to the toilet, and then she leaves by going into the shower. It is like almost finish. It is both finishing the process, but also going from sitting to standing,
Yeah.
and from a need you have to do to something she is doing out of choice. Yeah, I think it's just a really nice bookend for her story.
Yeah. Though I
I
do find it fascinating that Faye does show up in the next two episodes. Ed and I do not. We do not see those two ever again.
they went off to have like a much happier adventure, I think. Like I want to believe in my heart that Ed and Ein went off to have like a happier life than what Spike and Jet and Faye have.
Well,
I mean, Spike's life will be briefly very happy, very, very
Briefly,
briefly. Um,
briefly.
I do wonder when the decision to have Ed leave was kind of sort of stuck in because I do wonder because obviously there was a problem. Bebop had a lot of issues when first broadcast with violence. I do wonder if this was sort of a nod to the sense of like, okay, we're going to have our violent ending, but we'll get the kid and the dog out. So now you have these three not pure characters, kind of like in older Hays Code films, just like you can't praise the hero, so they have to die at the end if they're a criminal. Same kind of thing. Like, okay, look, the kid's gone. We can now have our massive shootout.
yeah. This loose end is tied up. Our innocent bystanders that have been with us for about 15 episodes at this point are gone. Now the runway is clear. Because yeah, that last shot of Spike looking out the Bebop window, smoking a cigarette, and Jet joins him and sees the graffiti on the Bebop, the tag, the farewell tag. It's like on some, I think in their heart of hearts, particularly Spike knows that they're heading towards the end or some kind of there's something coming that they have to reconcile with, and they have to do it without the most innocent person in the entire show.
And I love the kind of grief that Spike and Jet have over it when they're eating all those eggs.
Oh
Like
yes.
when and because they specifically finish their plates first, and there is hesitance before they reach over to the other plates. And it in a lesser show, it would be a different like they would be crying or they'd be talking about it or something, but it's just them alone together for the first time in a long time, just eating these eggs. And ironically, it might be some of the freshest food they've had in months.
I mean, like Papa Ed says, got to get that protein,
Get
got
that
to
gotta get that protein.
yeah, if you're gonna
Papa
get
Ed's huge.
Papa Ed's E Honda, I can't, straight down to the dimensions are very similar. Maybe Hakan if you want to go Super Street Fighter 4 with it, but I would say E Honda more first and
We
foremost.
also do get Ed's real name, I guess.
Yeah.
Francoise,
Francoise.
which is Francois is of course the male form, Francoise is the female form. I do love in the English dub, there's a moment where Ed's dad's like, son, daughter, kind of like, you
Even
know,
he doesn't know.
yeah, we just keep it non-binary, which is very progressive for you.
We love it. We love a supportive dad.
Yes.
Yeah. To be fair, it's like one of the only jokes we've had about Ed's gender, the entire thing. And
Yeah.
it's a surprisingly good-natured one.
Yeah.
My
Uh,
son, my daughter. Eh.
yeah.
And it fits the character as well. Like that is, it's clear this guy just has no idea what's going on beyond his mapping. So yeah, it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Uh,
just the scene with Ein, I think, is for me where it tees it all up. The Spike and Jet stuff on the Bebop is what knocks it out of the park, but what tees it up is Ein clearly torn between going back to the Bebop or following Ed and deciding, I think quite rightfully, to follow Ed instead. It's a very sweet emotional moment amidst all of this.
see how much food his dad has.
Yeah.
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 Dad has eggs.
Well, at this
I
point,
has
so does
suffered.
Bebop, but yeah.
Dad has more eggs somewhere. We know that that man is not skipping protein day.
Yeah, I have a Ed Netflix mailed out a bunch of promos when they were promoting the live action Cowboy Bebop, which I still have some of because I mean it's Bebop branded even if it's Netflix Bebop. And so I have a Ed stuffed animal in my or an Ein stuffed animal in my living room, and I was looking at this at my TV and looking at this like stuffed animal, just kind of being like, "Oh, buddy, that's you. It's you, like leaving."
You escaped. It's very this is gonna be a weird comparison. You remember that episode of Pokemon where Ash is saying goodbye to Pikachu because like Pikachu is gonna leave, or is Pikachu's gonna leave?
Join the
And
tribe
then
of Pikachu's, yeah.
yeah, for the tribe of Pikachu's. That happened a couple times in Pokemon. You had Goodbye Butterfree and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it it is a genuinely sad moment when Ed and Ein make the decision to leave.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I was surprised. I remember it happened. Certainly. I just forgot how much they linger on both it and how much of Spike and Jet kind of deal with the fallout from it. From noticing almost right away that void that they leave behind.
And then there's Faye running into someone she went to high school with, which is, and she calls herself a ghost. And I love that. I love that line where it's like, oh, meet, you know who this nice lady is? And it's like, I'm just a ghost.
Yeah.
Then literally sprints away.
Yeah.
And picks up a child and goes. Like,
I do find it fascinating that Faye is the one who eventually kind of comes back in the fold, I presume because she doesn't have a home. Yeah, if you look at the way Faye's written in this episode, they give her a hard out if they needed to, but she does come back, unlike Ed and Nine, because I think she gives Spike a sounding board in a way that Jet can't provide in the next two episodes. Like she's the last person to try to talk him out of attacking the Syndicate, which clearly is unsuccessful, but she is that kind of like last tether that he ignores before he pursues his final destiny, so to speak. Also because unlike Ed, Faye doesn't really have a home to go back to as much as she tries. Her home, whether she likes it or not, is the Bebop with the other broken toys that are left behind after Ed and Nine go.
that's
So
just it. Ed and Ein aren't broken toys. Like, Ed and Ein are like the only thing that is whole in the Bebop ecosystem.
yeah,
And we don't even sort of know how far her memory has come back. we get the two shots for that. Which I quite like about how they've handled her memory loss. And it's not like a sort of old movie where you get banged on the head once and suddenly you remember everything. She's got like those little lingering bits. So it's like there's definitely an argument that Faye, even now she has this house, is probably even more unhappy because I knew where a building once stood, but the building isn't what I'm looking for. It's the people who are in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something about the way the animation shifts a little bit in her flashbacks that I really love. It in a weird way, it kind of reminds me of When They Cry, if anybody here has watched that or in the universe has watched that. But When They Cry is a horror series, but there's something so like soft and deceptive about her flashbacks that make them feel like they're beautiful pieces, but they almost feel a little sinister in a way. Like it's almost scary for the not knowing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's some, and it's always a weird element of phase, for all the bluster. Everybody in Bebop has a degree of bluster minus Ed and Ein, which is why they kind of stand out. Um, but yeah, when you really realize how fundamentally incomplete Faye is because of her circumstances, it really I find Faye to be the most tragic character of the three, frankly.
God, and the way she looks at Spike when she says "I'm sorry," and she looks so young in that shot, in the way that she doesn't in the rest of the show. Like it's heartbreaking.
It's
And
also a
how
little bit, yeah. Well, yeah, go ahead, John.
and how that line is delivered as well. I love it because again, it's that a little bit of realism, but it's a very much a reverting to script moment. If you've ever sort of dealt with someone after like a big incident or an accident, you get those kind of moments where people kind of just revert to script. That's like they know what they're meant to say, so they just kind of say it. But it's like if you've ever done first aid training, one of the first things to do if someone's injured and they tell you, "Oh, I'm fine," don't believe them. Do not believe them because it's just blurting out. I think that's what you get there with Faye. Like if Spike was decent or like had the ability to see outside of himself, he'd gone, "Okay, I'm not letting you walk off in this situation."
Yeah, I do think on some level Spike understands something is fundamentally wrong or something has fundamentally changed about Faye, but he's too caught up in his own angst and trauma to fully recognize or probably more accurately know how to address it. He's just like, okay, you do you,
Yeah.
you got this.
I think if she'd bumped into Jet at that moment, that would have gone a very different direction because Jet would be sort of knowing enough to be like, okay, I've seen this before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just before we round out, I want to point out that Hard Luck Woman has 3 really good songs in it.
It does. So many good songs.
The song when Faye and going back to Bebop, We Queen on Coin is great. The final scene, Call Me is great. But the one I want to bring up is Papa Plastic, which is the song we have when Ed's dad and his assistant are going to the crater. Because if you collect records, you'll know that song used to be a grail for years because it was only available via the Cowgirl Ed CD, which became near impossible to find for years and years. It was like there used to be a joke if you found that in a thrift store, quit your job. You're not working for a year, man. It goes for that much. Now they've reissued it, so it's quite cheap. But yeah, for years that used to be the thing. People like me would search through bins desperately for. Like on the dawn of eBay, it was going for like tens of thousands.
That's wild. But what are our penultimate final thoughts?
One fun fact, another kind of thing that signals that we're nearing the end of the line for Cowboy Bebop. Big Shot gets canceled.
Yeah, that's right. We didn't talk about Big Shot.
Big Shot gets canceled. It's kind of a fun aside, but everything's coming to an end. Everything is kind of winding down, including Big Shot of all things. So Spike's way of life is kind of quietly coming to a close.
Yeah, the last cowboy on the range watching as the steam engine comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that your final thought?
Brain Scratch could have been better. Is my Brain Scratch is a perfectly acceptable episode in any other show, but Bebop, you unfortunately conditioned us to expect very high quality. So even a little slip means you okay. But Hard Luck Woman was great. Like I get over Brain Scratch by presuming okay, we were focusing on Hard Luck Woman and all the time and budget goes into this brilliant thing, and we have this one was like okay, it does the job. It's the plank of wood on the fence.
Yeah. It rewatching Cowboy Bebop has been fantastic. And we're coming up to the end, but at the same time I've also been rereading The Odyssey, which is a very interesting two-parter. But there is something like epic poetry to this kind of journey, because when we don't really define the epic very correctly these days, because the epic really is about the journey, and Spike's ultimate destination is intense. See, Ed doesn't have an ultimate destination yet. She's just off into the world, and the same with Ein. So I'm very excited and sad that we're coming to the end of Cowboy Bebop again. It's a story that you never really want to end, but it has to in order for it to have its impact. But that does mean next week will be our end with this particular round of Cowboy Bebop. But we are pulling into our final destination. That's right. It is time to disembark from Toonami Absolution. We want to thank you once again for talking with us about the shows that made us us and the shows that made you you. We have been your hosts. My name is Alyx.
I'm Sam.
And I'm John.
And we'll see you next time. Bang.